Chapter 1. The Floating City.
How can this be real?
Joel thought to himself, feeling his heart begin to pound. His wide blue eyes were scanning the horizon over the cornfield. The fresh breeze had shifted and dissipated into silence. The sounds of the cheering crowd and the rhythmic thud of a baseball against leather gloves had drastically stopped. A dark, swirling shadow now loomed overhead, blocking out the light of the noonday sun. Joel's camera had been scanning the unfolding baseball game for the local news, but now its lens blacked out. Joel had leaped to his feet, causing his tripod to lose balance and his camera to tilt toward the ground. He continued to fix his eyes upward.
What in the world?
His voice broke.
Joel, are you capturing this?
Rachel grabbed Joel's camera as he fumbled with the lens. She jumped into action and manipulated the camera's settings with her slim fingers. Her dark hair lashed at her eyes, but she was undeterred.
Thanks, Rach.
Davie, help me prop up this thing.
Joel exclaimed, trying to regain his composure. Joel's little brother, his eyes wide with wonder, abandoned his efforts to run bases. He dropped his baseball bat and lunged past the sidelines to lift the tripod and help Joel capture the perfect shot of the strange phenomenon unfolding in the clouds. Davie had launched the ball sky high for a beautiful home run, but it had deflected from a mysterious, transparent object. It was as if a barrier had shielded the sky. The ball rolled to a dead stop in the outfield. The camera's focus blazed past the crowd on the rusty bleachers, capturing a whirl of their bewildered and curious expressions. It narrowed in on a darkening thundercloud directly over the field. The clouds continued slowly churning lower, like the wisps of a lingering specter. However, they did not form into a funnel, as a tornado would do. They were not the head of a typical thunderstorm. These clouds had poured out from a singular point in the sky, as if something had ripped a small hole in the Earth's atmosphere. The foreboding darkness swarmed larger, and a deep, metallic odor permeated the air that hinted at something otherworldly.
Just a little more to the left.
Then there it was, emerging through a bluish haze that had overtaken the midday sky. A city in the clouds. Its dark skyline appeared mythic and jagged. Below, an intense audience packed the stands. Davie's team loaded the bases, but everyone in fierce competition a few seconds ago was now gazing silently upward. Some onlookers began furiously pointing into the air, and a hushed shock settled over the crowd. Others winced at the foul smell, although it did not impede their captivation. Several teenagers pulled out their phones to gather live proof of this strange encounter. However, they realized that a sudden lack of cell service had interrupted their social media posts. Fear began to grip their sober expressions. Unexpectedly, something began to whiz down onto their heads. Psst, psst, para, para, para. Marble-sized hail started pummeling the crowd, causing most of them to take cover beneath the sheltered section of the bleachers.
Run, everybody, take cover,
yelled the announcer over the speaker as the hailstones grew in size. Children began sprinting toward their parents and screaming in terror. They felt piercing wind begin to blow forcefully against their faces, and the temperature instantly dropped. Large hail fell toward Joel's head, but he dodged it. He used a thick blanket to protect Rachel and the camera as they ran. Davie grabbed a lawn chair for cover and saw his breath wisping from his nostrils as he sprinted close behind them. He quickly helped Joel and Rachel readjust the camera underneath the shelter. Puddles on the ground started to freeze and crack. Then distinctive and blaring sounds from above caused more confusion. The noise below temporarily came to a halt. Gurrakakak, beep, beep, beep. Unmistakable noises of construction and traffic pierced their ears from overhead. Onlookers from the ground began to hear bustles of a foreign crowd from above, as if a city had been magically transported into the air. However, there was no city with skyscrapers around for 100 miles.
A city floating in the sky?
Joel fumbled with his words as he attempted to focus his camera lens and capture the rarest footage in history. The hail slowed down before he could get the camera going again. Then the invasive city floated closer. Davie and a few teammates began frantically pointing toward an open square space resembling a window within its central tower.
Look, something's moving in that window,
yelled Davie. Although difficult to see, a dark figure darted from the city to the ground. It fell behind the baseball field like a shifting shadow. Now that this foreign object had invaded, everything changed. The adults could not contain themselves.
Are we under attack?
Someone yelled. They started to panic along with their young children, who continued clamoring for their parents.
Joel, am I on?
Asked Rachel. She straightened in front of his camera, attempting to make a professional appearance amid chaos.
Coming to you live from Paoli, Indiana. We are witnessing what appears to be a floating city overhead.
Suddenly, as she was speaking, the city vanished. A gentle, warm breeze replaced the foreboding chill, and the strange clouds dissipated completely. Small children had smeared their cougar face paint and attempted to catch breaths between horrific screams. Adults scooped them into their vehicles while others remained motionless, gazing into the sky. A few people started praying in fear. Others began chanting as if they were being rescued. However, this city had nothing like heaven's golden streets from the Bible. This one was dark and ominous, like an eerie type of UFO. Joel flinched in shock that some people would actually want to be abducted by that dark and sinister thing, whatever it was.
Did you capture that thing in the field?
Davie asked, tugging at Joel's shirt.
We saw something black drop down from the city's tower. Over there.
What? Where?
Joel squinted ahead but glanced back at their news van.
Hang on just a sec,
said Joel, adjusting his headset.
Judas, were you able to get the footage to the station?
Yeah, oh, man.
Judas's voice crackled over the headphones.
This is amazing! The connection is laggy, but I'm sending it right now.
They could hear Judas rapidly punching the buttons. Joel took off his headset and grabbed a smaller camera.
Okay, guys, let's go and check it out.
Davie and his friends ran ahead of Joel and Rachel toward the fence in the outfield. A young, scrawny boy grabbed Davie's baseball bat for defense while others lingered behind in fear.
Who's going in first?
Asked the younger boy, gripping the bat. Joel looked around cautiously and jumped the fence into a farmer's abandoned crop. Usually, at this time of year, the farmer had tilled the ground and planted the fresh corn into neat rows. However, someone had been paying local farmers to stop growing food. It did not take long for lush, towering weeds to overtake the pale, dead corn stalks. The mixture of wild vegetation engulfed them like a shroud. Davie adjusted his hat and followed his brother.
Wait for me, you guys,
yelled Caleb, a sturdy, curly-headed boy. He lightly shoved the younger boy aside.
Watch out, Levi.
You watch it, Caleb,
said Levi, tightening his upper lip and nudging him back. He hated it when his older brother tried to make him look like a wimp. His hesitation waned, and he jumped the fence behind Caleb. Rachel lingered behind with some of the others, but was ready to follow if they went too far. She stood on tiptoe to see. Soon she lost sight of them, but could hear their footsteps cautiously crunching between the dry stalks and slushy beads of hailstones. The boys followed Joel for several yards. Their pace began to slow as briars mingled with the weeds, an entangled mass too tall for them to see anything. Joel strained to see a way ahead, but stopped when their path ran out. He winced when he noticed a thorn had pierced his side. He rubbed out the sting and continued looking through the shadowy overgrowth. No sign of anything out of the ordinary. Nothing but the sound of a few confused crickets, still chirping due to the darkness that had overtaken them moments before.
Do you see anything?
Asked Rachel from the fence.
No, nothing.
Joel shouted back.
Hold on, guys, I see a better path over there.
Joel remembered how the farmer had made a corn maze out of this field, and some old paths were still clear enough to walk through. They made their way to the left and began curving through the maze.
Don't get lost,
Rachel shouted back. She gripped the wooden fence but let go when she noticed the grains of the splintery wood. The boys kept going.
Don't worry,
Joel hollered back.
it just winds back around where we came in.
However, the path kept going deeper into the field. Once they got to the center, it opened up into a circle, a perfect circle.
There's no overgrowth here at all,
said Davie as he stepped firmly onto the flattened corn and briars. They all walked around the circumference and looked up at the sky. It was quiet. Not even the sound of a cricket at this point.
What could have done this? It's too fresh to be part of the corn maze,
said Levi. Joel bent over to get a closer look. The stalks were completely flattened with no space between them and the soil. Somehow they were interwoven into an intricate weave pattern. There was no till in the ground, as if someone had taken a steamroller in a flawless loop.
This seems way too small to match the city in the sky. Plus, it never touched the ground.
said Joel.
There's no way that the farmer could do something like this with his equipment,
said Caleb, and the others agreed. He attempted to kick up a layer with his bulky tennis shoe, but the stalks refused to give. Joel recorded some footage, but wondered if it would be best not to send it in. If he attempted to connect the corn maze with the floating city, they might not appear to match up. Some people might try to invalidate the whole story, not to mention the conspiracies of other reporters' lives being ruined over broadcasting this type of topic. He observed the others' curiosity as they tried to push their fingers underneath the stalks.
No,
He pushed out the thought.
I have to send in everything. I have to stick to this and investigate the truth, no matter what people say. Strangely enough, the city did appear over the same spot,
said Joel. As he put away his phone, the wind began to gust a little. Next to the circle, Levi thought he felt something touch his foot. He glanced down and saw a black tail slither through the dead corn stalks.
Ah, snake!
He turned and ran as fast as he could back toward the fence. Davie spotted it and joined Levi. They quickly made it back and leaped over the fence toward Rachel. She winced as they landed beside her, and Davie felt sheepish once he realized how they had reacted. Joel and the others sprang out and joined them. However, Caleb lingered in the field and grabbed a large rock.
I'm not afraid of a little snake,
said Caleb. He looked around his feet in each direction, determined to destroy the serpent.
Was there really a snake, Levi? Or were you just tricking us?
There was a huge black snake in there. It has some sort of strange diamond pattern with dots. Didn't you see it?
Said Levi defensively.
Its tail is so fat, it has to be over a 6-footer.
Davie shook his head in agreement, still bent over catching his breath.
He's right. Definitely over 6 feet.
Rachel shivered at the thought and checked around her sandals.
I hate snakes.
She started stepping away, ready to get out of there.
Be careful in there, Caleb.
Joel called out.
It could be a cottonmouth with the river nearby.
Caleb gave up looking and dropped the rock back into its place. He leaped over the fence to join them.
Are you sure that you guys saw something drop down from the tower?
Asked Joel, attempting not to sound too impatient.
What did it look like?
Positive.
Said Davie as the others nodded in agreement.
It was something black. I couldn't tell what it was from that distance.
I believe you. But whatever it was seems to have disappeared,
said Joel. As they lingered, the parents and police officers started calling out for them.
Ah, man. We may never figure out this mystery now,
said Levi.
They will never let us come back here.
They all breathed heavily.
We will see what we can find out,
Joel said. He was just as eager to discover the truth as the others were, but he felt this story would not quickly unravel.
For now, we had better get going.
Joel and Rachel led the group back to the baseball field. The young boys dragged their heels, but obediently headed back toward the stands, their minds buzzing with questions and theories.